The Philadelphia 76ers have been very impressive so far. And before we get on to the second subtopic of this topic, what do you think has been the key for their success?
I'll start. I loved the move that they went out and made for Seth Curry. I thought that even though Seth Curry is not like a star player, he's such a good shooter. What he did for that lineup is unbelievable. And then on top of that, Danny Green, who's not Danny Green just is like a better fit Josh Richardson for that team. Like, I think those two moves were great moves for them. They brought in Dwight Howard to come in and be a backup five. He's done a good job for him. I thought that they had a great offseason, and especially the move to go get Seth Curry just totally changed the dynamic of that lineup, adding in a shooter like him, kind of playing the J.J. Redick role before J.J. Redick left. And if you remember how important J.J. Redick was to that team, and then last year they struggled without a shooter like that, so bringing him back in brought back that same type of J.J. Redick feel to the offense. And obviously, we'll talk about it, but Joel Embiid has been incredible. This is the best that we've ever seen Joel Embiid play over a stretch of games this long. And for those two reasons, between a good offseason, helping the team fit and play style, and Joel Embiid playing so well, I feel like that combination has been the difference maker.
Obviously, Embiid is the main catalyst, but I think Doc Rivers deserves a lot of credit for this, putting in this new culture, and also Seth Curry. The improvement of Shake Milton has been very good for them, Danny Green's defense. And not to mention Tobias Harris. You know, last year he was very inconsistent. People were talking about how he was a bad contract, and this year putting up 20 points a game on 50, 46, 82 splits. That efficiency we haven't seen from him since the Clippers days. And I know it's still early. You know, they're only 19 games in, but this is the Tobias Harris they wanted to see. I know Ben Simmons has been slacking offensively, but he's still doing the other things he always do great. But this team has been rolling, and it's fitting better for Embiid and where he can play at an MVP level.
Yeah, and one thing on Tobias Harris, I think that with Ben Simmons' numbers taking a hit, I think it has a lot to do with Tobias Harris embracing that number 2 scoring option role. I feel like he's really slid in comfortably into that role this year, and we haven't seen that from him in past seasons.
There are a lot of players this year that have 40, 50, 40, 90 splits. Is that because there's no fans? Possibly. Is that the reason Jaylen Brown's averaging those numbers? Possibly.
Why do you just keep
but this one I'm going to say. These are the two takeaways that I have for the Sixers when I watched them and what's been the main difference from last year. One is spacing. No doubt about it. You get Seth Curry, who Josh Richardson, he's a volume shooter. Seth Curry is a sharp shooter. He's from that Curry breed, so you know he can stroke it. So Danny Green, he's there too. He's a sharpshooter. Korkmaz. Tobias is a volume shooter. And Milton, he hasn't been that great, but you know he can shoot the ball. But this is what I attribute most of their success to, and I think this is a credit to Doc Rivers. They know their strengths, and they know their weaknesses. It's as simple as that. Kind of like Floyd Mayweather. He's not going out trying to knock out, punch somebody. He's a defensive fighter. That's what the Sixers are. They know their strengths. They're not going to try to score the most points every game. They're going to defend, and they're going to pick their spots. Right now, the Sixers are 15th in the NBA in three-point percentage, shooting it at 36%. They're 23rd in attempts per game. So they're one of the bottom. They're in the bottom of the league in terms of attempting threes because they know they're not that excellent in that. Maybe the Rockets should have took a page out of their playbook because they took a ton of threes even though they weren't good at it last year. They're second in the NBA in free throw attempts and fourth in makes because they're feeding it to Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid gets fouled. So they're taking it to the basket more, and they're not settling for jump shots. They know what their strengths are, and they know what their weaknesses are, and they're a great defensive team. They're fourth in the NBA in opponent field goal percentage. So they're playing like a grit and grind style of basketball, even though they're a fast tempo team. They know what they're good at.
And also, I would say Joel Embiid is embracing that role of being an elite big man more than I think he ever has. Like, he is really getting in the post, not even getting into the post, but the mid-range as well. I feel like he has been so in love with stepping out and taking the three ball, and while he can do that at a pretty elite level for a big man, he's at his deadliest when he's on, the mid-range and that block, especially the left block. He's been so efficient there this year, shooting 70% from the left block, which is one of the best marks in the NBA. That doesn't even take into account all the fouls he draws from there with the rip-throughs. And he's also been a better percentage-wise shooter in the mid-range by 8 percentage points than Kevin Durant this year. So
the three balls
at this point in the season, is Joel Embiid your MVP?
100%. I think he right now is the MVP. Like, people are gonna have a vote for LeBron, Nikola Jokic, but I think this guy should be the MVP right now. Now for Philly, it's gonna be tough for them because they have the Doc Rivers and he has a curse on him. He in the playoffs is gonna be tricky, and this team tends to overexceed and disappoint us. But right now they look good and they look like they're on a tear. And Embiid looks like what we should have seen from years ago, that he is the most dominant big in the league.
I think that game against the Lakers was the front runner for the MVP game. If the Lakers and LeBron won, it was going to be LeBron. But the Sixers won, and Embiid had a great game, even though Tobias had that game winner. So that's why I'm putting Embiid over LeBron right now. I think he's number one. He's averaging 28, 11, 3 assists, a block, and a steal. He's shooting 40% from three. And I know he's not taking as much as he used to, but that's still a tremendous feat. And I don't know what it is, but
he takes it when he can.
I don't know what it is, but this year, NBA players, their percentages are on steroids. Everybody is shooting the heck out of the ball. Like, I don't know what it is. A lot of players that should not be in that club are in that club. Like Caruso leads the league in 3-point percentage right now.
That was like the most mind-boggling thing I heard all day.
It could be because of the crowds. As for the MVP, I would say...
Wait, I said Caruso, right?
I think you did.
Okay.
As for the...
Is he really, though?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
As for the MVP discussion, I would say it's either between him or LeBron right now. I think those are the two consensus guys. And then people will throw Jokic in there, but I would say just because of their early struggles, how they were slow out of the gate, he would be one step behind. But I would have Embiid at number one right now, my proverbial MVP ladder, just because the impact he's had on that team. When he plays, they're 12-2. When he doesn't play, they're 0-4. When he plays, when he's on the court, I should say, they're plus 12 points per 100. And when he doesn't, when he's off the floor, they're minus 10.2 points per 100 possessions. So the impact he has on them is immense, bigger than anybody in the league right now. And to me, that is the definition of the MVP. Yeah, he's led him to the best team in the league right now.
I'm happy to see it, man.
Right now, Alex Caruso is shooting 56% from three.
How many attempts?
Probably, I don't think more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's on a low volume. And
he's taking 2.4 a game.
Weak sauce.
But he hits them when they need it. He hits them when they need it.
I will say he started off as like a meme, but he really has turned into a pretty crucial player.
He was a funny meme, though.
He was always a good player, bro.
He's turned into a crucial role player.
He was really good at college.
At Texas A&M.
Yeah, they was tough.
Talking about the Sixers, Embiid is playing phenomenal. We made a video, I think, last week about Ben Simmons and his passiveness.
He got up for that game.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. The Simmons that showed up against the Lakers, that's what everybody wants to see from Simmons on a consistent basis. He started out the game with 6 or 8 straight points.
He got up.
He was going after it. He was doing his thing. I think he slowed down a little bit in the second and third quarter. But he was doing his thing. I think he finished with 18, 9, and 11, somewhere around there. That's the Ben Simmons that I want to see. I don't want to see 12 points per game Ben Simmons. Right now, he's only attempting 9 shots a game, though. So I don't know if he'll get there.
But do you think that's more of the weapons they brought in, like the shooters and the way they're playing, or just him?
No, that's definitely the weapons they brought in, but I don't think that – because this is the thing. Seth Curry is – you can run him off screens. He's a spot-up shooter. He can create his own shot at times as well. But Josh Richardson last year was more of an isolation scorer. So Josh Richardson was going to take more shots. He was going to have the ball. He was going to dominate the ball more. Ben Simmons dominates the ball a lot this year, more than he did last year. And because of that, I think he should be aggressive. Nobody's sagging off of Seth Curry that often. And nobody's going to do that for Danny Green or Tobias anytime soon. So Ben Simmons has to be aggressive. I get that he's a very unselfish player, but sometimes he just has to look to take over.
I would say I don't mind the passiveness as long as they are playing this good of basketball. And Tobias Harris is playing as well as he's playing, and their shooters are shooting as well as they're shooting. And adjustments will come, and at that point, he needs to change how he's playing because at some point during the season, he's going to have to step up and be that aggressive guy. But right now, the way they're playing, I really don't mind the passiveness. I think it's almost helping them in a way in certain games, and obviously sometimes it hurts them, and he needs to kind of like the conversation we've been having with James Harden. He needs to know when he has to turn it on and turn it off and when he has to change his play style. But I think there are times when this passiveness is great for the 76ers.
I agree with that as well. So we can all agree that we all have Joel Embiid as the front runner for the MVP right now.
Which is crazy because it's been almost 2 decades since a big man won the MVP. Who was the last big to win
Dirk?
the MVP?
When Dirk won in 2007,
Yeah.
right?
I think that was the last guy. Yeah, I think.
Probably was Dirk. I would classify him as a big man. Garnett won it too.
And that
I think like
was
a decade. A decade, you could say
about
a
a
decade.
decade and a half,
Yeah. It was
which
Dirk.
is crazy.
Yeah, damn. 2007. Wow. Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, there has
I think
really
since
not
then
been
only
a
2 point guards have won the award.
there has not been a true dominant big man since that time until like just the past
Embiid
couple
was
of
supposed
years.
to be that guy.
Just in these past couple of years, the NBA has revitalized. Like that position has been revitalized.
Yeah.
But in 2015, the best big man in the league was DeMarcus Cousins, and he couldn't play defense.
It's pretty crazy when you look at it,
He
though.
was basically what Karl Anthony Towns is now.
When you look back at the time that Garnett won the award in 2004, prior to that, leading up, or in between that and the years
Didn't
that
Tim Duncan
Jordan
win the
was
year
winning, it was Tim Duncan twice, then Iverson, but O'Neal, Karl Malone, Michael Jordan once, Malone, Michael
Barkley.
Jordan again, Robinson, Olajuwon, Barkley. So it was all big men
big
for
man
like a
league.
decade before. And then there was Steve Nash twice, Nowitzki, and then it turned into guards and forwards. And now maybe we get our first big man again since 2007.